So I'm sitting here and I'm going through all my stuff that I'm learning. I'm learning folders and folders and folders of stuff. And I was thinking back in 1999, I started playing guitar with my brother. Uh, he was really into it, and I love music. I've always loved music. It's always been a huge part of my life. You know, from the time that one of the first songs I really liked was um, I liked Fat Boys. I really liked Fat Boys and Run DMC. When they came out with that King of Rock, that was like the best thing ever. And so, anyways, you know, back in high school, a lot of Metallica and Iron Maiden and Megadeth. So, playing in the guitar, I had a good ear for it. I can't read music. Still can't read music. Well, I never tried to learn, really. Well, I looked at it and said, yeah, it's Greek to me, so I didn't stick with trying to learn it. I went ahead I went ahead and started playing with my brother, and he was in a band and he wanted me to join and needed a bass player. Somebody had stopped playing. So I was like, all right, 6 string, 4 string, whatever. So I started playing bass, and I don't know anybody's songs. I've never learned any songs before. So I'm 6 months into playing the guitar, and they wanted to do a show, and we ended up booking a little show at bar in New Haven. And I've always been, kind of reserved and in the background, and this was like huge. And since I knew that we were doing it, it was the only thing I could think about, and it just consumed my whole life. I was terrified. So back then they had tablature that you can print off, and it's got the strings, and it's got like 4 3 0 0. So you'd hit this on the fourth fret and this on the third, and those two would be open, the other strings. And if you've seen tablature, you know what I'm talking about. So I was studying the songs that we were supposed to do, and I had it all printed out, and I would carry it with me everywhere. And I brought them to the bowling alley because I was bowling back then. It was before I stopped for 12 years. And a woman, her husband played bass. And she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, we're supposed to be playing at bar in New Haven on Friday night, and I'm just trying to learn the songs." She's like, "Oh." I didn't really think too much of it back then. I've always done a lot of reading, and I thought that was the way to go. So we go to the show, and um, it was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. I sucked. Having an ear for music and knowing that it just wasn't meshing and melding, and was off, and the pitches, and I was like, oh. I started to do a Kurt Cobain thing where he plays with his back to the audience, and I started turning myself because I was just so shy, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. Terrified. There was one song that I played good, and that was Paint It Black, because it was easy. So the reason why I thought of that was because I'm going through and I'm doing all this learning and stuff. But that's not how you learn. You learn by doing. You may have caught that when I was telling you I was trying to study the notes and the patterns and all that stuff. You learn by playing. A couple years after that, Not even a couple years. I think it was like less than a year. I had learned and we went to go play out someplace else. And I told my brother, I was like, please, 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 tell me all of the songs that we're going to be playing, and you do your thing on this and record them all of them, record them. And for my parts, I had to learn my parts and get really good at them, and I did it over and over and over and over and over and over. And I knew we were playing in like 3 weeks. Every night for hours I played all those songs for hours, and I was tweaking them and I was tweaking them and I was getting good and ad-libbing stuff. And by the time that I was done and we had that show that was Cafe 9, I'm not really sure which two were one, but it was the most amazing experience ever because I had learned it and I had practiced it and calloused up, and it was just the most amazing experience playing up on stage and watching everybody look at you moving around and smiling and looking at you, and people giving you beers, and everything's on point, and it's just the energy is everybody's in sync. It's just the most amazing thing. But to get to that point, you have to practice and do it and practice and do it. You can read it and learn it, but until you practice and do it, you know. So I'm learning. I'm learning. I'll get there. I'm not worried. Just every once in a while, my mind will come back in with a story, and it'll be like, "Hey, remember what you did back then? It didn't work then. You try something else now." So, yeah, you learn by doing.